This case has a perfect trim, and in this video, we're going to talk about how you can attain these kinds of results. Gavin here from ultimatereloader.com. Trimming brass is not anyone's favorite task, but it's super important, especially with bottleneck rifle cartridges. In this video, I'm going to walk through some topics like why you would need to trim brass, some of the things that you're going to look for when you trim brass to get the right results and to get that in the right way, review some equipment, and do a quick demo. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Why do we trim brass? Well, the first reason is when you perform full-length sizing on a case, you get elongation in the neck area. It's almost like a toothpaste tube. You squeeze it and the brass actually flows in the neck area and it lengthens the neck, right? The sizing die is going to stipulate what the headspace is, in other words, space to datum on the shoulder, and the body gets sized by a full-length sizing die. That means there's nowhere for the brass to go but to elongate the neck. And if it elongates enough, you're going to run into chambering problems. The neck area of the chamber won't be long enough. And depending on the taper of the case body wall, you're going to get more or less elongation. So it's an important thing to check. It's an important thing to monitor, and trimming is super important and can have very big effects on the precision of your shooting. In terms of the SD would be the biggest factor, velocity, consistency. There's also some other important things to consider when trimming, and trimming I'm now including chamfering with, right? The inside and the outside of the case neck. The inside chamfer can help with bullet seating. We've shown this with the Annealing Made Perfect amp press. How much of an effect this can have, it's pretty drastic. And outside chamfering can have an effect on feeding, whether it be a bolt action or an AR. So ideally you want to have a good trim, a good inside and outside neck chamfer. And if you get consistent brass, annealing is perfect. Again, Annealing Made Perfect, we use the Mark II induction annealer. That will cause the brass to have the correct hardness, and then if it's trimmed to the correct length, you'll have consistent surface area between the bullet and the inside of the case neck, and that will lead to consistent bullet seating and also more consistent standard deviations and extreme spreads with your velocities. Okay, so what does the perfect trim look like? Well, first off, you want a consistent overall length. Consistency is the name of the game for precision shooting. And we also know that we want a consistent gap so that we have proper chambering and we have that proper allowance in the neck area of the chamber. So correct overall length is one thing. The consistent neck area length is also important. So overall length, you're going to look at the specification for the cartridge. SAMI, for instance, gives you a case overall length and a tolerance. When I'm setting up a trimmer, I usually go to that overall length and then subtract about 20 thousandths of an inch. Could be 10 thousandths. Depends on the angle of the taper on the body of the cartridge. Again, you'll get more or less depending on that taper angle. So we want to have consistent neck area. We want to have consistent length of the neck. We also want a really clean chamfer on the inside and a really clean chamfer on the outside for the reasons that I just mentioned. I've found high-speed powered trimmers to offer the cleanest inside and outside chamfers. Part of it is the functionality, and part of it is I just like to look at a really clean, shiny ring for the length cut and the inside and the outside chamfer cuts. So another thing I'm looking at is the process. Am I getting to the right result? Is it an elegant process? Do I enjoy operating the machinery and doing the trimming? And am I not wasting any time? Am I being efficient in the process? Those are kind of the key things that I look at. Okay, how about equipment? We've used a bunch of different types of equipment here at Ultimate Reloader, and we have a couple solutions that we've settled on to mention. So there are manual hand lathes. These are great because they're inexpensive and they do a good job trimming. There are drill-mounted trimmers of different types. I've used these in handheld cordless drills. I've used them in drill presses and machine shop equipment. Again, different pros and cons there. Hornady has a case prep center with an integrated case trimmer. It works well. It's a little bit slow, but it's a good option if you want that other case prep functionality, if you're reaming primer pockets, if you're doing brushing and all that and only want to have one tool. The Gerard power trimmer headspaces off of the shoulder. It does a 3-way cut. The Henderson trimmer, which I have here, I have the V3, also does a 3-way cut and is powered, but it has an overall length reference instead of a shoulder to end of case mouth reference. There are powered press mounted options like the RT1500 that we've shown on presses and on the Dillon Case Prep Center, the CP2000. We've even showed a fully automated version of that, including trimming 300 blackout cases and converting them from 223 or 556. That solution we're currently using for bulk processing of things like AR cases. The downside is that it doesn't have 3-way trimming built in. And then you see at the right here is using machine shop equipment for case prep. I used a milling machine for trimming and a lathe for doing the inside and outside chamfer. One of the big factors with the 3-way trim, well, there's 2 factors. One, you're going to get a really consistent result and you're going to get really good looking results like what I've got with the Henderson powered trimmer here. The other thing is efficiency. You're taking what could be 3 different handlings of the brass, one for the trimming, one for the outside chamfer, one for the inside chamfer, and you're reducing that to 1 handling of the brass and 1 process, and that saves a ton of time. This trimmer, I've got 2 videos on the Henderson Gen 3 trimmer. One was kind of an overview and setup, and the other was the setup of the 3-way cutter head. This machine is unique because it's got the 3-way cutter, it's got a tapered interface for the cutter head with a drawbar, not unlike what you'd find on a milling machine. Most of you that operate milling machines are familiar with the drawbar that comes down from the top. You've got tapered tooling. It might be R8 on a Bridgeport type machine. It pulls it against the taper, and that's a really good way of locating the tool and to prevent the tool from spinning. So I love the fact that you can individually adjust the length, the outside chamfer, and the inside chamfer. This has got solid carbide blades that do a really good job of trimming at high speed. 1700 RPM spindle speed, DC motor, billet aluminum construction. It's a really, really nice looking piece of gear, and it is very smooth and functions super well as well. And I've had it consistent down to way less than 0.02 of an inch with the same head stamp brass and careful operation and careful setup. So if you're interested in knowing more about this machine, I definitely recommend that you check out those other 2 stories, the overview and the cutter head setup. Next, let's do a quick demo. So using the Henderson trimmer is really easy. I will note there's normally a chip guard here. Have that removed just so that I can show you the cutter working a little bit more clearly with the cameras here. So we're going to turn on the spindle. I've got a couple 6GT cases. I like to hold the case against the collet, tighten the collet, and then you just kind of push, get near the cutter and go nice and slow there. That's it. Perfect, perfect trim. We're going to do one more just for fun. So once you get this thing set up, it's really quick to trim, and it does all 3 steps: the length trim, the inside chamfer, and the outside chamfer, all in one step. Really couldn't be better for precision. So this is our preferred solution for precision reloading and the respective trimming. And then for the bulk stuff, we use other machine progressive press mounted powered trimmers. And then sometimes we don't do the outside and inside chamfer, which is a compromise we don't like to make, but for that kind of bulk brass processing, I haven't found a better solution yet. So my question for you is, what do you think of the Henderson V3 trimmer? If you've checked out the other videos, let me know what you think of that content, and what are you using for precision case trimming? Are you using a Henderson? Are you using something else? Drop a comment and let me know what you're using, what cases you're trimming, and how you like it. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.